All right, well, hello and welcome to today's discussion with Lory.
Hi, hello.
And here's Jan. So Lory here is a lifetime Detroiter, as well as I am a lifetime Detroiter. And we are volunteers for the Michigan Election Reform Alliance, but we're from Detroit, so we're a part of the Detroit Team for Fair Elections. And today, Jan from Reform Alliance, oh, look at this nice t-shirt here. And so today, Jan is going to talk about all the things that the Michigan Election Reform Alliance is doing to make sure that this election in Michigan 2020 is fair and on the up and up.
And that's a big challenge given all the attacks on our elections and the honesty of our elections right now. But citizens are the main fence that is protecting the attacks, and we want to encourage everyone to get involved. I'm so proud of the Detroit team because you guys have just jumped right in. The Michigan Election Reform Alliance was formed in 2004 after the Ohio presidential election, which we call a disaster because it was stolen in so many different ways in Ohio. And we realized that the same thing could happen to us in Michigan. So a lot of us decided to get together and do something about that. And so we were pleased to have members all over the state. And we started conducting our Mirror Monitors program to get citizens involved in guarding the security and the honesty of our elections. And we started that in 2006. And we have been doing this ever since. And we're really pleased that this election, we've got volunteers in 10 counties. So the word is getting around about what people can do. I was an election administrator for 18 years. And so I decided that our monitors need to know exactly how an election should be run. If anything, we need to know more about it than the poll workers, because to find out what's going wrong, we need to know what should have been done to protect our elections. We have some very good laws in our state. Unfortunately, they're not always followed, and that's where things go off the rails. I'm just really interested in what you think people know about what you're doing in Detroit. Have you had any interesting comments that people make? What are you hearing?
Well, I'm hearing that the comments are, like you said, they want a fair election. They knew that we lost here in Michigan by about 10,000 votes from the Hillary and Trump's election. So people were saying that's like one or two people per precinct, So they want to know how can we bring those numbers up so that they're overwhelmingly, because those few little votes right there it was unacceptable, and we don't know if that was even accurate, you know. Um, so that was the talk, and we had people come in from uh, across the country to recount the votes here um, that year. So yes, that's one of the reasons they want a fair election. They every time we have an election in the city of Detroit, the process is never 100. It's never 70. It's never 50. It's always below. So I mean, how can you stay in a position with a job that's so critical like that and never have at least a D? I mean, because I'm sure that if we had a job, and my job would not let me do under 50.
No way.
No way. I would have been gone. So yes, we want a fair election. That's one of the reasons, Jan. Mhm.
And
I think
also,
that's what we all want, really. And how do we
Mhm.
get there, and why hasn't it happened so far?
right, and also in 2016, 70,000 votes for president were not counted in Detroit.
Right.
70,000. She said that the machine couldn't read that particular part of the ballot.
Pretty suspicious.
Yeah.
That's
It's,
called beheading the ballot, because you take off the top vote.
right. And it makes, every time I think about it, my eyes get watery, because I think about the people who were murdered for me. I remember looking on Facebook a couple of days ago, and one of my friends on Facebook said that it was a man who walked out of the election after voting, and he was shot dead right there on the street. And this was in Mississippi in 1950 something, I believe. So to me, that's very painful, you know. And the person wasn't even charged with a crime, you know. So stuff like that, you know, it's too. Our democracy depends on us being 100. Yeah.
Absolutely. Here. And so many people have died for the right to vote and the right to have their vote counted, which you
Right.
have to have too.
So those people, right. Those
And
people.
so what I would say, without going into the whole horrible story, is most of our history, we have had cheating in elections. We have had cheating all the way since 1800. Very nasty election at that time, and it's gone on. The big difference now is the cheaters now can do the biggest cheat, the cheat that covers thousands of ballots and not just one little town. That's the difference. You know, when women tried to get the right to vote, the first time the vote was held in Michigan, there was so much cheating and ballot stuffing by the saloon owners that a judge ordered a do-over.
Oh God.
And that was how bad it was then. And so we've never really had clean elections. Now we have a decent chance if we can get rid of the machines that we're being forced to use. We're being forced to vote on very insecure electronic tabulators that can be hacked, and don't let anybody tell you they can't. Oh, well, they're not connected to the internet. Yes, they are. They all have a wireless modem. They should not have any modems according to the National Institute for Standards. No. And we have people from federal security who say no. But needless to say, our Secretary of State refuses to remove the modems and has told clerks to send their results in using these modems. Oh, they got, you know, special encryption and there's firewalls. No, there's no firewall that will stop a determined cheater. And a lot of them are partisan in this country. They have cheated before. We're pretty convinced from what we studied in 2016. Mira interviewed many of the hundreds of observers at the recount in several communities around the state. There were all kinds of things that shouldn't have been happening. It wasn't just in Detroit that those ballots were beheaded suspiciously. That was all over the state. There were way up north, there were communities with all kinds of election problems. None of that should have happened.
right, and there was also about 87,000 votes in the whole state of Michigan. This is from MLive. 87,000 votes of people who went to vote in a presidential election and did not pick a president.
And who bothers to stand in line to vote and then doesn't vote for president?
Nobody.
You know, but not only that, but what I witnessed as an observer was when the absentee ballots were being counted, there were a lot of blank ballots in the absentee ballots. Now, who spends 2 stamps to send in an absentee ballot that's blank? Nobody does that.
Nobody.
So there was a whole lot of stuff going on. And the worst of it, because of Detroit's number of voters, was fatal to the whole election outcome. Only 40% of Detroit voters even came and voted. So there's something really wrong with that. And we've been doing everything possible this year to make sure that people feel more confident and can vote. But it's very hard when you have a top election official who cannot administer her way out of a paper bag. And August was a mess. August in 2018 was a mess. I was there. So we have many serious problems that are not going to get solved between now and November 3rd, but we're doing our best as citizens with the election monitoring program to put our eyes on the situation and to take very careful note of everything that's going on from the very start of the day all the way through to the end. And it involves watching how voters are treated. It involves watching how ballots are treated. Are blank ballots just left in a stack in the middle of the room? That's happened. We've seen that. All kinds of hanky-panky is possible if the election inspectors are not following the law. And we have some very good laws in Michigan. I'm a big fan of the late Secretary of State Richard Austin, who wrote a lot of these laws, and he was a stickler for the right procedures and everything being done 100, because he was a CPA and he knew how to keep track of stuff and count numbers. So I think if we got everybody straightened out about why we have those laws, why you can't run a precinct with just people from all one party. No, you got to have checks and balances. You got to have everybody watching everybody else.
And so how would someone volunteer? So let's talk about how do you volunteer with us?
And I have every faith that people who are on Facebook will have no trouble. Jean, why don't you tell them how to find us?
Sure. Well, you can email us for the Detroit section, you can email Detroit Team for Fair Elections at gmail.com. We'll put that below so that you can find that, or I'll put that, that'll be, if you just contact that, then we'll just go from there. And if you volunteer Flint or where else, Jan?
We also have a Facebook page for the Flint team. And if anyone, and if anyone has an interest in some other community, we will try to help you make that connection as well. But those are our two top priorities this year, is Detroit and Flint.
And your training is online. It's just like an hour. And if you have any questions, you let us know. It's super easy, and you don't have to volunteer there. You don't have to do like the whole day of election day. You can do some hours for us, and you could also we have a poll tape project that's going on. There's lots of ways to get involved because we all need to watch this election with both our eyes on it. Just putting in your vote is not enough because they are doing lots of things to make sure, just like in 2016, to make sure that things go wrong.
This election, we are going to collect the feedback from all of the volunteers and collect what they saw and what they had to do. So it will be a pretty interesting report.
I think it surely will be.
Maybe if you're just at home and you wanted to help out, is that you can call or write to the Secretary of State and tell her to remove the modems from the voting machines.
Right, remove the modem.
Second thing is for Detroit is to tell the Secretary of State that Quicken Loans and other corporations should not be counting our absentee ballots.
Right.
Even if they are sworn and they are paid by the city clerk, they have too many conflicts of interest. They should not be allowed to work on ballots.
Right.
That's really important. And just because their employer is giving them time off doesn't mean we necessarily trust that these are
Legitimate.
fair-minded people.
Right, and they're not, believe me.
They're there to deliver a result.
Mhm. It's not in our best interest.
And Dan Gilbert is one of the biggest donors to Trump, by the way.
Yes,
So
yes,
a little bit of a conflict there.
yes.
As far as removing the modems, we have 3 brands of tabulators in this state. One brand has the modem right on the outside. All you have to do is get a screwdriver and take it off.
Those are the ones in Detroit, right, Jan?
Yep. And the other 2 have way fewer machines in this state. We have almost 8,000 of these tabulators. So most of them are the ones where you can just remove the modem from the outside. And I would love to form a crew with screwdrivers to go and get those things off.
Right.
I would like to form a crew that takes them to a junkyard.
Yeah, well, the machines too. Only problem is we taxpayers paid over $65 million for this junk. And Mira has opposed that from the beginning. We pointed out that there's a lot better stuff you could do with $65 million. Think about it. These machines are only warranted for 8 years. So every year we've paid $8 million for the use of these horrible machines. So at the end of 8 years, what are we going to do? Where are we going to find more of that kind of money? If we had instead trained our citizens to hand count ballots, we would be able to employ 20,000 Michigan residents for every election, not just every 4 years. I'm talking 4 elections a year, up to that many. And that would pay these people a very decent wage for training and counting. And we would be able to do that for that many people for 40 years. And the money would stay in Michigan instead of going to these companies that are owned by Wall Street investors.
Yes.
Okay, so you viewers out there, we hope that you will volunteer with us. Please email us. So we need as much help as we can get.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you later.
And thanks to everybody that's going to come out and help.
All right. Thanks. See you later.